Hello, everybody. We're just going to have a few minutes while we wait for people to log on. And as people are arriving, I invite you to become aware of your breath, become aware of your body. It's lovely to see some familiar faces here. So we're just going to be allowing an arrival for the next few minutes, probably till about 5 past. So just take a few minutes to breathe. For those who have just logged in, we're just waiting a few minutes for a few more people to log on. So we're just going to take some breaths, feeling your feet on the floor. Maybe just noticing what energy you bring from your day to this moment. Noticing what's happening inside your body. Hey, Sunny, we're just breathing, dropping in while we're just waiting for a few more people. How often do we give ourselves the space just to sit and breathe with nothing else to do? I find when I allow myself to, there's something delicious about it. So as we proceed into this evening's orientation together, you're welcome to have your camera on or off as you wish. You're welcome to just listen, to settle in. We're not trying to fix anything tonight. We're not trying to bring urgency to anything. We're a connection and a perspective. I can see quite some of you here have worked with me either presently or in the past. I welcome all of you. So, what are we here to explore? Well, as many of you probably know, I'm a uh, I'm a somatic psychotherapist and a mental health social worker. I've been working in clinical practice for 4 years now. And before that, I've been working in drug and alcohol rehabs and other places. And I've been developing a way of seeing mental health, a way of seeing a spiritual path, a way of seeing humans that I've found relatively effective for how I work with my clients. And I wanted to share some of that with you this evening. And an important part of my work actually has been this growing academic arm, this teachings that have been emerging. And this is like a condensed version of some of those tonight. So let's just begin with the first statement, which is probably the most important. And you might have heard therapists say this before, but obviously cliches can be true for a reason, that there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with anything that's going on in your world necessarily internally. There are conditions and there are effects of things that have happened from the past, the way that you have been shaped. And in this, many people who come to self-exploration, to therapy, to workshops, to all kinds of things that they go to, you might have heard the phrase, there's nothing wrong with you. There's things that's happened to you. And the more we understand what's happened to us, how our nervous system was shaped, the more we understand why we do the things that we do. All of us have so many ways to avoid ourselves, to check out, to numb out, to project out, all kinds of out. And tonight's an invitation to do the opposite, to tune in, to start tuning in more and more. Some of you, and I've worked with many of you here, I know are on your path of tuning in. And one of the important things of tuning in is learning to deal with the uncomfortable. So many things in our body, in our mind, in our relationships are uncomfortable. It's part of the human condition. But most presentations I see as a clinician, whether someone comes with an addiction, they come with an anxiety, they come with depression, they come with relationship issues, I see most things as coming from childhood. And in that, I don't see anyone as I said before, broken. It is much more that they're developmentally stuck. There are aspects of the being of you that are stuck at certain ages, almost like a childlike behavior getting stuck or a teenage-like behavior that's still playing out when you're an adult. And this is a problem, obviously, when we've got addictions, when we've got major issues that are showing up, but it didn't start as a problem. It started as a solution. And as we start to turn toward the body, we start to turn toward the mind, we can start to understand why we came up with that coping strategy in the first place and what need was it meeting. And as we understand what need it was meeting, we can learn to meet it in other ways, but importantly, we can learn to not abandon ourselves anymore. And so, what is the way that we do this? As a somatic psychotherapist, somatic meaning of the body, we see the body as the doorway. The body is where the signature of your life is written, where everything you've ever done involved your body. I always love that phrase when people say, I'm going away on holiday. And I always think, no, you're not. You're going to be right there with yourself. And it's true, but at the same time, going on holiday, somehow it feels different because we're in different relationship. We're in a different place with different people. And for a time, it feels like it's different. But if you stay there long enough, anyone who's done geographicals in their life, geographicals meaning just go somewhere else, things will be better then, you know that the old patterns are going to catch you up at some point. I used to be a bit of a geographical. After about 6 months or a year, I'd move to a new place and a new place and a new place until I realized what I was doing. And I was running. I was running from myself. I had all kinds of justifications, minimizations, all kinds of ways. But it's only when I stopped and learned how to turn toward what was going on inside of me did I start to realize the pain that I was numbing out from, the pain that had led me into addiction, that had led me into depression, into all kinds of things. And I wonder for you how connected you are to your version of that. I know we're all different. We've all got different expressions of how we avoid. And yet there are some fundamental universals for all of us. And first and foremost, we have a nervous system. And there's some rules of that nervous system to some degree. You can think of it like an electrical grid that runs through the body. And I like to think of emotion as energy in motion. And when we go through a traumatic experience in childhood, and it doesn't have to be capital T trauma, like really awful things, although it can be little t's, the energy gets stuck in our nervous system. And like a grit in an oyster, it starts to build a pearl around it. And that pearl is our adaptations, our ways of coping with whatever the thing was, whatever the many things were that we couldn't deal with at the time. We came up with a way to survive. And that pearl is what we're quite often still playing out today. Whether we eat too much, we smoke too much, we get into dramatic relationships, and on and on. And so, as I said, the body's the doorway. And by the doorway, it's useful to become aware of how we get drawn out of the body. What are your particular ways? And as we become aware, we can start to tune back in to become more in harmony with life, to notice the disharmony. You can think of the body like a musical instrument. And when we're triggered, when something's going on, and it could be triggered from outside or triggered from just something happening inside, a craving, an impulse that is uncomfortable, we we lose harmony. It's like a musical instrument getting out of tune. We might go flat or we might go sharp. And we go and seek something to try and harmonize us. And depending on the parenting we had when we were a kid, we seek minimal harm stuff to quite extreme harm stuff to try and harmonize the nervous system. But with some relatively simple tools and a lot of practice, we can learn how to tune the nervous system. We can learn how to come back in, to come home again and again. And even as I'm talking right now, I wonder how aware of your body you are. I wonder how aware you are of your feet on the surface that they're on, of the movement of your breath. Some of you may have been aware of that before I mentioned it, and yet now I mention it, you can feel it. It's always been there. It'll always be there until you die. Many, many sensations running through the body in flux. And if we learn how to listen to the body, we can learn how to meet its needs in ways that are not harmful, but actually incredibly useful and nourishing. And I mentioned before about the developmental issue of getting caught, getting stuck in our patterns where we're a bit like a child or a teenager playing out. Often I'll ask clients, how old do you feel when you're doing that thing? And they'll often come up with an age. I'm 12, I'm 14, I'm 8, whatever the age is. Sometimes, yeah, I'm a 3-year-old throwing a tantrum in that time. And I think it's quite true. We are those ages. I'm that age sometimes. Just ask my wife. But as I learn to meet that part of me and I learn to parent it, I can help it mature, I can help it integrate, and I can step in a much better way. And so I see a lot of personal development work, a lot of spiritual work, really a case of tuning in and maturing, tuning in and maturing. And as I tune in, I meet it with as much compassion as I can. So I wonder whether we might take a moment right now to listen to your body right now, as I just did, but with a very particular focus. So I'm going to invite you right now, if it feels okay, to either close your eyes or just stare at a spot in front of you, if that feels better. Allowing the eyes to go diffuse if you've got them open. And just starting to notice the movement of your breath. Notice how deep or shallow your breath is, whether it's rough or smooth, whether it's fast or slow. There's nothing wrong with any of it. We're just noticing. And as you become more aware of your breath, you might notice it starting to naturally deepen slightly. And as you allow the breath to deepen now, down to the diaphragm, that muscle below the lungs, just allowing the shoulders to drop if they've got tension in them, allowing the jaw to soften, the tongue to soften, and bringing the awareness to the muscles around the eyes, just softening, softening. You've all heard of doing breath work, and as you continue to breathe, you might be aware that the breath is one of the fastest ways to influence your nervous system to calm down, to come back to presence. The eyes are another way, softening the muscles around the eyes. The eyes are really connected to the nervous system, and as we soften the eyes, almost like you're looking at a large vista of a mountain range or something, the eyes soften, and it instructs the nervous system to soften too. So we can stack these very simple, very easy little tools to calm the body, calm the mind, but also come to presence. And as you continue to breathe, very soon I'm going to invite you to come back into your environment. But before I do, I want you to imagine that your attention, where you place your attention, is almost like a spotlight or a camera. And just as you can be aware of the movement of your rib cage right now, you can be aware of your surroundings through maybe the feeling of the air on your skin or the sounds around you. And very soon, I'm going to invite you to open your eyes and practice what's called the 90-10 rule. This is where you put 90% of your awareness inside your being and just 10% in the external field. So when you're ready, just opening your eyes and just calibrating. What does that feel like to keep 90% of your awareness inside your being and just 10% in the external field and with me? You might notice if you look at the screen and you look at me, it brings you out even more. Quite often when we look at another nervous system, another human being, it brings our attention out even more. But what's it like to orient your awareness more on your body and stay present with it? I'm not going to invite you to feedback with the group right now. This is just for your own reflection. Notice that calibration. Can you bring more attention out of yourself and then more back in? Play with it a little bit. Why are we doing this? What's the point? Imagine you played a guitar and you wanted to go around your mate's house and you really wanted to play this guitar and you play it for them and they don't tell you the guitar's out of tune. And you're just singing your heart out and the whole thing's out of tune and you're really doing your best, but it's just not in harmony. it's kind of like that with our nervous system half the time. We're just getting on with the day. We're doing what we think is the best thing, not realizing that we're not paying attention to our nervous system and we're belting out our songs of the day with the people we love or just the people we see. And many of us are terribly out of tune. We're masking up, we're pretending we're not. Everyone says, "How are you?" We go, "Good." And sometimes we genuinely are. But you know well how often you say that word and you're just like, "Ah, I don't want to have that conversation right now because the answer is way too vast right now." And so I wonder what it would be like if you were to train yourself to anchor in your nervous system to pay attention to four correlates. The first one is sensation. Very simple. This is things like pressure, tension, nausea, energy. Very simple descriptive words that are physical body based that we can really point to and describe. And I invite you, before we move on to the other three correlates, just to look in your body right now. Can you notice any sensation? And if there's an absence of sensation, that's fine too. You can just note there's an absence. And sometimes, even in the noticing of these, they start to shift. And that's welcome too, because our bodies are always in flux. Everything's changing all the time. The second correlate is emotion. Now, emotion's a funny one. Many people mix it with thoughts. They say, "I feel they shouldn't have done that." That's not a feeling, that's a thought. The feeling is probably frustration or annoyance or anxiety. So, emotion is a single word, non narrative thing that we can use to start describing. And the reason I'm giving you these correlates, and I go way deeper into this in the work that I offer, is because it's like I've noticed with a lot of people and myself for most of my life until recently, most of us are what I might say somatically illiterate. We know there's stuff going on in the body, but we don't necessarily tune into it and we don't necessarily articulate it to ourselves what's really going on. So then we can do something about it. You can think of it a bit like a diagnosis. Like I'm diagnosing my body with tension and anxiety. If I've got a diagnosis, then I can offer a treatment for it. Ah, if I've got anxiety, oh, I know that's anxiety. I can breathe with it. We'll come more to that in a minute. But most of the time, we go, something's uncomfortable. I need that drink. I need to go and binge on Netflix. I need to go and eat those heavy carbs or whatever the thing is that I go for, rather than actually the simple tuning into the body. The third correlate, so the first is sensation, the second is emotion, the third is thought. And this is narrative based. And often we've got a lot of thoughts going on about ourselves or about other people, about the way things should have played out. But the thing about thought, the funny thing about it is it's a time traveler. Most of the time, it is rarely about this moment. Thought is nearly always about something that happened in the past, something that's coming up, or just some complete fantasy odd job I'm making up right now. It's rarely about this moment. As I as I say to my clients, you can't think your way out of your mind. You feel your way out, or you use your senses. Alan Watts had that great phrase, you've got to go out of your mind to come to your senses. And I really like that phrase a lot. And that's what this is inviting you to do. I'm inviting you to go out of your mind. Nothing wrong with the mind. We just get a bit stuck in there and stuck on loops, many of us. So the third correlate is thoughts, and we notice thoughts. And the fourth and final one here is impulse. What are we driven to do? What is that thing we reach for to try and lessen the pain or the uncomfortability in our body? Some of us intellectualize. That's a way of doing it. Some of us just completely check out and stare out of a window and we think we're relaxing, but we're not present here at all. There's a complete dissociation going on. There's so many ways. We're such creative beings, us humans. And many of these things we did come up with as we were children. They're not wrong, any of these things. They were adaptations. They were us doing our best at a certain age. So as we tune into the body, as we notice more and more, we can start to train our attention to listen to what's going on. And then importantly, as I mentioned, what do I do about it? Attention's kind of passive. There's a there's an element of, mm, okay, I've noticed a sensation. I've noticed an emotion. What do I do now? And I'm a pragmatist. I love, what can I do with this? I'm always asking, what can I do with things? I'm only interested in it so far as it's useful. Otherwise, it's just theoretical ivory tower bollocks, really. So we need to go into the pragmatism of it. And this is where we ask ourselves, what does this thing need? If I've got uncomfortability in my body, what does it need? And it's amazing how simple the answer can be so often when we can learn to get out of our head. You might notice yourself going back up to your head right now as I'm talking, or maybe you're focusing more on me. See if you can focus more on your body. See if you can practice that 90-10 rule as many times as you remember during this session without forcing it, without bringing tension with it, but just noticing, noticing. And so the uncomfortable emotions we're learning, or sensations or thoughts or impulses, we're learning to soothe. We're learning to meet them with all the different kind of ways we can meet them. And the comfortable ones, we're learning to savor. Like you might be feeling quite calm right now or quite happy. And the funny thing is, I don't know about you, but for many years, I didn't value lovely feelings. People go, what are you feeling? I'm like, nothing. Whereas the reality was, I was feeling calm. I was feeling quite contented, actually, but I didn't see it as something to savor. And I find this in a lot of my clients as well. It's like receiving a compliment. Many of us just kind of, oh yeah, yeah, whatever. And it's almost like the body giving us a compliment. You're doing the right thing. And we're, yeah, whatever, whatever. I'll just get on with the next thing, rather than taking a moment to breathe and to savor. And so we got this kind of pathway we're talking about here. One is attunement, attuning to the body. And from that splits into two. Either I'm soothing or I'm savoring. I'm soothing or I'm savoring. But either way, I'm paying attention to the body and I'm listening and I'm valuing what it's telling me. Everything that my body and mind tells me is data. There's nothing wrong with what it's telling me, even though it might be really, really intense at times. Actually, that's exactly what I need to hear. And in fact, my brother Nathan, who's on the call here, he had a great, beautiful example at his storytelling workshop the other day, which I loved, which was the feather, the brick, and the freight train. And this is this idea of like when the body's giving you messages to begin with, it's like you're being tickled by a feather. And if you don't listen, that feather's going to be a brick sooner or later being thrown at you. And if you still don't listen, that's going to be a freight train coming to run you over. And some of us need the freight train before we're willing to actually do anything. I used to be a bit like that. I'd think I've got a hard coconut head that needed a baseball bat to actually, for me to actually hear anything. And I've gone on this journey of trying to get out of my head and weight down into my body, and I'm still learning to do it. And so a lot of what I'm exploring here with you, and a lot of what I explore in the course and with my clients, is this journey that I've been developing, going on for the last 20 years, that I've tried to condense as concisely as I can. Okay, so just as our attention is the most important thing in many ways, you think about what social media does, what technology does. We all know it to some degree. Our attention is being drawn out of us. It's being taken to these other mediums all the time. And it's the addiction of our age. And I'm not going to spend too long talking about it, other than to say, I think there's a really important necessity for us to reclaim our attention, for us to learn how to wield our own attention. As that old phrase goes, you either have a plan or you become part of someone else's plan. And it's so easy for our attention to become part of some other plan, social media, advertising, someone at work, whatever the thing is. If we don't learn how to be sovereign in our attention, how to anchor it here in this present moment. And so, with this aperture of awareness, take a moment to feel your feet right now. And you might be able to feel the very tip of your left little toe. And then you can broaden that aperture to feel your whole left foot. Broaden it further to feel your whole left leg and left foot. If you can't feel anything, that's fine. And you can broaden the aperture further to feel your entire body as much as you're able to. Now, why do we get pulled away from this? Why do we get pulled away from our body? We can list 1,000 different reasons why, but they all come back to the same reason: the body's experience of safety. Our nervous systems, as far as we're aware, have been developing, evolving for 500 million years. That's a really long time. And as one of my meditation teachers says, we live in a realm of parasites and teeth. And all of our ancestors survived in this realm of parasites and teeth because they had a damn good survival response, enough so that they could have children. That is so bred into us. There is nothing we can do to bypass that. Our nervous system is stacked on a hierarchy of safety. So when we use that phrase, he triggered me, that thing triggered me, you think of the gun. The trigger on the gun is the tiniest point of the gun. Actually, is the gun armed and who's it pointing at? And the ammunition in the gun is the trauma. That's the stuff stored in the nervous system. And who I pointed at, it comes down to my personal beliefs, whether I beat myself up or whether I put it out into the world. Hmm. That's funny. My mind just went blank. So I'm just going to take a breath for a moment. Right. So on safety. And 500 million years ago, the nervous system started to evolve. And there are three states of the nervous system that we predictably go to. The oldest is dorsal vagal, the vagus nerve. I won't go too deep into all the technicalities of this, but it's that part of the nervous system where we collapse, where we're depressed, we're checked out, shut down, don't want to see anyone. I want to isolate. I want to close the curtains and just not exist. The second part of unsafe, the newer part, is sympathetic nervous system, the fight and flight system. And this emerged a little bit later in terms of its dominance of the hierarchy of the nervous system 400 million years ago. And this is the fight or flight. Now something unsafe happens and I can control either you, who's the threat, or I can run away. But there's something I can do. And 200 million years ago came the beautiful part of the nervous system, what we call now ventral vagal, second part of the vagus nerve. And this is the mammalian system. When we're connected with our loved ones, when we feel joy, when we feel happy, when we feel grounded, this part of our nervous system is leading. Yet when we get triggered, that part of the system kind of goes to the background and sympathetic takes over, fight or flight or dorsal. And so this anchoring into ourselves, learning to stay at home, we start to notice more and more, where do I leave? Where do I leave ventral vagal? Where do I go to sympathetic? Where do I go to dorsal? Where do I check out? And for those of you who are attracted to certain substances or certain behaviors, typically the substances or behaviors that you're attracted to perpetuate the state that you go into. Some people more go to sympathetic by default. Some people more go to dorsal by default. So some people are more fight and flight. Some people are more shut down. And we're typically attracted to the drug that perpetuates either the sympathetic fight or flight. So that's where the heart rate's up, adrenaline's going through the body. I'm getting ready to go. But in my modern day, I'm not really going to fight anyone necessarily. So I can go into this chronic sympathetic overdrive. I might do, but I am likely to. And I'm likely to pick substances that are going to perpetuate that. And likewise for dorsal. And so, with my attention, as I become aware of it, I can start to meet that shift in my nervous system. I can meet it with a breath. I can meet it with as much courage and staying power as I can so that I can start to calm my nervous system. Sometimes there is a genuine threat. And of course, we need to deal with a genuine threat if it's there. But 95 plus percent of the time, the threat isn't real. It's a perceived threat. And this comes to the fourth and final part of the nervous system, our prefrontal cortex. This is only 2 million years old, give or take, right? 500 million years old to 2 million. It's a baby. Our prefrontal cortex is so new. It's just mushroomed out. I was watching a documentary the other day, and Paul Stamets, the mushroom guy, was saying apparently we evolved from mushrooms. That's crazy. So 700 million years ago, we were mycelium, essentially. And I like to think of the nervous system as mycelium in many ways, and our prefrontal cortex as the mushroom that's come out of that. But this is where we do our executive functioning. This is where we think clearly. This is where we do our adulting, our strategic thinking, our consequential thinking, my ability to imagine what it's like to be you and to not walk all over you, but actually respect you as another human being. This all happens from this part of my nervous system. But what happens when I get triggered? That goes offline. That I need to be in ventral vagal for that to be here. And so I typically go to my sympathetic or dorsal vagal, and that is where my childhood or teenagehood behaviors start coming out. And after I did whatever I did, I go, wow, I can't believe I just did that thing. It's almost like I was another person. Maybe you've had that experience. And yet it happens. And so we are this kind of stacked, evolved being, 500 million years in the making. And we could go back further, I'm sure, in terms of the evolution of the universe, but let's not go there right now. But another important thing about the prefrontal cortex is that if I imagine danger, my nervous system acts as if that danger is happening right now. So if I'm paranoid, if I've got anxiety coming up, I create a feedback loop. I think you looked at me funny. That brings up something in my body. Maybe you're just, I don't know, thinking about something and you had a funny look on your face, but I take it personally. The thought comes into my mind, it builds up the emotion, which builds up the thought, and I create this feedback loop that I get stuck in. Maybe you've noticed loops sometimes in the mind or particular projections. And if I live in the mind, if most of my consciousness, my attention is in this little cave in here most of the time, and I'm not really aware of the satellite dish of my body, which is capable of receiving all the signals of everything going on around me at such a more intelligent rate than clever little me. If I'm not tuned into that, I get stuck. I get stuck here. And so by feeling my way out of the body and doing it over and over again, remember tuning the instrument, noticing when I've gone out of tune and having the tools to tune back in so that I can now play the music. The tuning isn't the point. So the breath isn't the point. The grounding isn't the point. That's just the tuning of the instrument. The point is the dancing with your loved ones, the playing the music, the getting out there in your projects, in your world, the things that are important to you. Of course it is. No one wants to sit doing breath work for their life or therapy for their life or, all the kind of modalities that in themselves are quite fun, but they're not life itself. They're a way to tune into life and then to go and live life. And if I'm really practicing all the tools that I've ever learned, or I'm going out there to find tools, I'm going to become a skilled musician. And this is my goal for my nervous system. I want to become the most skilled musician I can so that I can jam. I can jam with life. I can actually enjoy myself. I can savor the good feelings. I can notice the uncomfortable ones and stop running away. And I still do. I'm working on it too. I'm human too. Hmm. So I'll just take a breath. I know I can talk a lot. Let's just take a breath. There's going to be room for some Q&A in about the hour. So if you have any questions, please do write them down. And so if you would just for a moment take this point of view that your attention is your greatest asset. Where you place your attention is the difference between you being stuck in old patterns, in old ways that aren't serving you or your loved ones, or you becoming a very, very empowered, autonomous human being. And it takes getting uncomfortable. It does. And our world really tries to remind us that it's not okay to be uncomfortable. I've got a product I can sell you if you're uncomfortable. I've got this thing and this Instagram filter and this Facebook life and all the things that we try and deny uncomfortability. But it's only by becoming intimate with both uncomfortability and comfortability can we truly start to live. Rather than just being surviving, we move to thriving. And so losing our attention is not failure when we get pulled out of ourselves again. It's an opportunity. It's for me to go, oh, look at that. I got out of tune again. I got pulled out of myself from the fishhook of Facebook or whatever the thing is. And now I can come home. There's nothing wrong with Facebook. There's nothing wrong with drinking. There's nothing wrong with any behaviors. But it's what does it do to me? What does it do to my life if I do that thing? And what does it do to my life if I choose to do the other thing, the thing that I know is better for me? And it's always funny when clients come in to see me, everyone knows what's good for them. They know what they should be doing. But as soon as that word should's in there, you know you're not going to do it. Anyone who tells you, you should do this, you might nod, but a part of you's going, don't tell me what to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I find that we're kind of like that with ourselves. When we say, I should do that, a part of us is like, don't tell me what to do, even though I'm telling myself what to do. We don't like to be told what to do. So I invite you not to should all over yourself. And I invite you to check in with the possibility of, do you want to? Do you want to? And that wanting isn't just in this moment. It's like when I married my wife, I wasn't committed. I wasn't motivated to marry her. I wasn't like, I'll show up when I'm motivated to. I was committed to it. That's part of the point of a commitment is even when I'm feeling crappy, I'm still going to do my best to show up. Even when I know I'm right and you're wrong, I'm still going to do my best to show up. And of course, that's my teenage child coming through in a relationship, but I'm going to do my best to challenge myself and to show up. And it's kind of the same with this kind of work. It's a commitment. It's a commitment to a marriage with yourself, a marriage with your spirit, with your essence, whatever you want to call that, to coming home again and again and again. Your bricks and mortar house is your house. It's somewhere you live. You can sell that. Your home is your body. It's always been your body. It will always be your body. But many of us kind of want to evict ourselves from our own home. Or we want to kind of sell it short down the river or not appreciate it. And it's always amazed me how many people would spend so much money on adorning their home or their car or some project of theirs and so little on their body, on their mind, on their relationship with themselves. Of course, I'm perhaps too far the other way and I'm learning not to be. That's why I'm a pro therapist. I couldn't have enough of it, right? But having healthy relationship, right relationship is key here. And it's all about the where I put attention. And so what do we do with that attention when we are jamming, when we are in the music of life? I don't know about you, but for me, one of the most important aspects, well, there's two main important aspects of life for me. One is my relationships, the people that I love and care about. And the other one is my projects, the passion projects, the things that I do that I love doing. And both of these require me to be in relationship with my nervous system if I'm going to be successful in either one of them. Because if I'm not, I'm going to be the dad that's a bit of an arse, or I'm going to be the partner that's just not listening because I'm triggered and I'm in my stuff and I'm not present here in the relationship, or my projects are just not going to go that well because I'm not putting the right energy into them. It always comes back to what's my relationship with my nervous system? And do I know how to tune it? Do I know how to be in right relationship? And in the same way as my attention being drawn out of me as an opportunity, when I'm in relationship with other beings, and usually it's the people that are closest to me that trigger me the most, as we tend to all find as Christmas is coming up, and we're all going to see it soon, right? We go back to whomever our family of origin are or our loved ones, and that sister of yours, that brother of yours, the uncle, the cousin, they have that phrase, they have that way of looking at you, that slight thing that makes you maybe feel like you're 8 years old again or you're 12 years old. And it's like we fall into these old familial patterns. And that's the opportunity, that's the practice. That's the opportunity to go, wow, can I come home? Can I mature myself, mature this part of me? Because I can probably predict where I get triggered by whom, because it's happened with these people, whether it's people I live with now or people I'm going to see, might be people in the community or at work. I can predict the people that I'm going to get triggered by for the most part. And in doing so, can I see them as my teacher? Can I see them as an opportunity to practice? Within the realms of safety, of course, I've got to maintain safety, but within those realms, everything's up for grabs here of noticing my nervous system. So as I'm talking, are you aware of your nervous system right now? Are you practicing that 90-10? Imagine you're at your family function next week at Christmas or whatever you're doing at Christmas, and you're connecting with one of your family members who's got that phrase or that way of talking to you where you're just not listened to or you're just condescended to or whatever the thing is. And maybe you don't, and good for you if you don't, but I think many of us do. Well, I wonder if you can practice this 90-10 rule, staying aware of your body. What does it feel like sensation wise when your dad talks to you like that, or your son or your sister talks to you in that way? What happens in the body? Do you tense up somewhere? Do you get pressure? Do you get nausea? Do you get a rising heat? Is there emotion? Do you get frustration? Do you get anxiety? Do you get resentment? What is going on there? And the more we notice it, the more we get a choice of one of three directions that we go with this as we notice. The first one is we completely numb out. No, I'm fine, it's all good. And we push it down and we repress and we mask. Many family functions are that going on. We all just mask up and we're pretending we're all fine. There are some very healthy families out there, I know that. But there's also a lot of stuff going on in a lot of families as well. The second option is I play it out. I'm annoyed or I'm anxious. Now I'm going to panic or I'm going to rage at you or something. I'm going to drink too much. I'm playing it all out. It's all a whole big thing. So those two are the unhealthy options, repress or play it out. The third option is the healthy option. This is the neutral option. This is the observer option, where I notice. I see what's going on in my body. What's going on in my mind? Can I be with my body and my mind more than I'm with this person I'm talking to? Because if I'm not, I'm abandoning myself. I'm making this person more important than me. The Dalai Lama talked about two kinds of selfishness. One of them is what we usually would use the word selfishness for, the selfishness of kind of a narcissist or whatever. It's all about me. I'm the most important person. But the second kind of a selfishness is a very healthy selfishness. It's altruistic selfishness. I take care of myself so I can take care of others, so that I can show up the best I can be. And when I'm present with my body, when I'm present with what's going on for me, it's like on the plane. I put my mask on first, then I put the mask on my kid. And in the same way, when I'm at a family function, when I'm with my kids, my friends, whomever, if I'm not abandoning myself, I can attend to myself in real time. I don't outsource what I can only go to the source for. I don't outsource what I can only go to the source for. And outsourcing comes in so many ways. Those are all the adaptations, the drink, the drama, the numbing out, the shutting down, the avoidance, the isolation. But instead of that, I come home and I learn how to establish safety in real time. I learn how to attune. I learn how to soothe. And in doing so, I value myself and my whole demeanor changes. I'm not saying it's as easy as that. This takes practice. I know it does. Because if I was your piano teacher and you'd never played piano before, and I teach you a scale to begin with, your muscle memory isn't there. And you're going to be all fingers and thumbs for a little while. But I guarantee if you practice those scales over and over, sooner or later you'll be like, whoa, my hands are just doing the thing. But you're still not playing on stage. You're still not ready to go on stage. You're just playing a scale. That's what we're doing when we're tuning in, when we're breathing. We're just playing some scales. They're important because they build this muscle memory. But until I actually go and jam with others, I'm not really getting into the music or jamming on my own if I'm a soloist. But even then, the music of life needs others, right? So I practice with people that it's easy to. I hang out with close people that I feel very safe and connected with, and I can practice this. I don't need to tell them. I'm doing this 90-10 rule. I'm just practicing. What am I feeling when I'm with this person who I really love and enjoy spending time with? That's the easy person. It's easy to be calm when I'm not triggered. But when, and next week is for many of us going to be a great opportunity when we've got that person around us that we go to like level 8 out of 10 of like, whoa, that's a lot. That's your concert virtuoso opportunity. That's where you really get to practice. Ooh, what can I do here? And my invitation, by the way, if you are tuning in and you're getting over a threshold of about 6 or 7 out of 10 in really triggered, I would invite you to consider leaving the room for a time. Establish safety first and foremost. And if you're going to do something that's going to be not helpful for you, leaving the room, breathing, coming back before returning and re-engaging is nearly always the best option. Establish safety, attune, soothe. Establish safety, attune, soothe. But I can only establish safety if I'm attuned. Otherwise, I don't even notice. I don't feel safe. So attunement is at the heart of all of it. My ability to tune into my nervous system. And my nervous system is 500 billion years of evolution baked into it. It is going to tell me what I need to know if I'm willing to listen and I've spent the time learning how to decode what it's telling me. That's where things like journaling can come in as a wonderful tool. And I have a particular way of going through journaling with my clients, and I won't go too deep into it right now, but it's essentially where we journal in a way of recollecting things that happened, and we tune into our body and write down those four correlates: sensations, emotions, thoughts, and impulses. And we train ourselves in articulating and noticing after the fact. And the more we do that, the more we notice in real time, because our mind is like a Labrador. We throw it a stick, and the stick can be something like, why am I a terrible person? That can be the thought that can come up, and the mind will go, ah, oh. He'll run off and get the stick and it'll collect and go, I'll tell you why you're a terrible person. It'll come up with all the reasons why. But if I learn to ask better questions, how can I tune into my body much better? The Labrador goes, oh, ah, I've got some great ideas. What if you tune into those things that we were talking about the other day? The mind doesn't mean bad. It just kind of goes on rails in many ways. And so we learn how to be with the mind more. There's three distinct areas that we're learning to be with here. The first and foremost is the body. The second is the mind. The third is relationship. And I put it in this order because if I don't deal with the body first and I go to the mind first, I am missing so much of the pie. I'm missing so much opportunity to calm the body, to feel safe, and then see what's going on in the mind from there. And until I've worked with the body and mind, it's way harder to work with relationship once I'm dancing with someone else. Hmm. So, in this way, there's an invitation to practice, not perform, not Not pretend in any way, but just to practice, to notice, to pay attention to yourself. Pay attention, pay attention. And if there's one thing I could really invite you to take away from tonight, it's that 90-10 rule and really, really practicing coming home over and over again. I like to advocate for breathos. You've heard of smokos. I always used to get annoyed when I finished smoking that people would go out and have a cigarette. And I think, why do they get a break and I don't? So I advocate for smoking or breathing a 10 pack a day. And in this time, you're doing everything a smoker does without the cigarette. You're taking time to stop what you're doing, sit down. And what do you do when you have a cigarette? You inhale deeply. It's one of the things you get when you smoke a cigarette is a hit of oxygen. And there's a softening, there's permission to not do anything else but sit. And funnily enough, when we got this bizarre little thing in our fingers, we give ourselves permission to sit. But how many of you give yourself permission to just sit and be 5 to 10 to 20 times a day when you don't have a cigarette in your hand? And some of you may be smokers, but many of you are probably ex-smokers as well. I am. And I have to still remind myself, oh yeah, take a breather, take a breather. So in that breather, when I remember, I do the 90-10 rule. What's going on? I check in. And if I do that multiple times a day, I end the day with so much more energy because I've tuned my body, I've listened to it. And so much burnout, so much challenges that come in the evening come from not listening to the body. Because as you well know, probably for you, for me, morning Aaron is way more reliable than evening Aaron. Evening Aaron makes way worse decisions than morning Aaron. And part of that is because I haven't listened to my body half the day. When I've listened to my body, evening Aaron does a lot better job of not checking out and abandoning myself. So we're coming towards the end of what I'm going to share right now. And we're going to move towards the Q&A section if anyone's got any questions. And just before we go there, for those of you that are interested, and I'm not trying to do a sales pitch or anything, but if you're interested in further work on this, you can check out and tune into .life. I'll send out an email with it as well. There is a course I'm running, a 10-week course, which is 25 hours of going deep into this, which is frameworked very specifically so you can apply this work to your own life and learn about your own story, learn about your adaptations, learn about how you personally abandon yourself, and then practice importantly, and this is the most important thing, how you come home. Keep practicing, keep practicing. And by the end of the 10 weeks, the students seem to have got a pretty good, I've run 2 cohorts of it so far, a pretty good understanding of themselves and good practice of coming home. So I won't say any more on that right now, but I invite you to check out the website if it interests you. I want to invite any questions. If anyone has one, there's a raise hand tool if you want to hit that. And this is like popcorn, if you ever know that in groups. The tension builds until someone pops. And it could go on for minutes, who knows? And as we're sitting here, as we're possibly waiting for someone to ask a question, let's not wait. Let's tune into the body, that 90-10 rule. Just breathe. That opportunity to be with your body. Wendy, hello.
Hi. Um, I have always run away from triggers, and now I realize how important they are. And I had the opportunity of last weekend being with a group where, well, actually, no, it was a week before, and I was with one other person, and I was triggered. And I had that opportunity to look at, I don't know, my whole body went really weird, and it was great to watch it. Uh, and of course, I just thought, oh, I'm never going to be in this room with this person again. And I left it, and the person concerned said, "Oh, do you think you'll be coming back?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." Anyway, I had a week to think about it, And of course, I went to the meeting again and he wasn't there. So I'm going to have the opportunity this weekend of seeing what happens. But obviously, there must be times when you have to have some kind of assessment of what how your trigger's going and whether you should stay and whether you should go, which is something I find, that's the part I find hard. Because I could put myself into something which I think probably I shouldn't have been there. I should have just left. Um, it's that decision. And so at the moment, my head says, yeah, triggers I'm going to hang around for because they're what you learn from.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if I'm hearing you correctly, the question is around when do you stay and when do you go? What's the decision making around that?
Yes.
Thank you, Wendy. And for me, it always comes back to safety. How safe do I feel right now? There's uncomfortable, and then there's genuinely unsafe. And so unsafe doesn't mean the other person's necessarily unsafe. It might mean I'm going to be unsafe right now because I'm so shut down. I can't predict how I'm going to behave right now, or I'm so triggered or something. And so triggers are fine if I can keep enough groundedness, enough connectedness to work with them in real time. Otherwise, I would suggest you did exactly the right thing to get out of there in that time. And sometimes we just need to leave the conversation. Sometimes we need to leave the room, and sometimes we need to leave the whole entire situation and not return. It's so nuanced depending on the relationship. And it sounds like that person wasn't someone that you have in your life that much anyway, from what I can hear. So, yeah, sure, you might decide I don't want to go back there for that person. But if it was someone like a family member or someone who you see quite regularly, you might make quite a different decision and have to approach it quite differently. So, safety first, then attunement, as I mentioned before, and then soothing. And the soothing part can be I need to leave and I need to go and breathe. I need to be with myself and then return to the situation. Or it can, once I've calmed down, I usually know the right decision to make. But I have to commit to leaving the conversation, the room, the situation, calm myself. And only once I'm calm have I got this prefrontal cortex online. And then I can make an intelligent decision. Up until that point, I'm basically running on my mammalian limbic system, the alarm center of the brain, and I'm not going to make good decisions. So I
Hmm.
think you did the right thing.
Mm.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, well, proof will be in the pudding next week when I front up. So we'll
Right.
see what happens.
And then when you return, there's an opportunity to do what I call ventral vagal bookending. And so this is this where I do something for my nervous system that helps me be really calm and grounded before I go to whatever the triggering event is. So I might spend half an hour to an hour doing something like it can be pottery, it can be meditation, it can be yoga, it can be anything, walking in nature that is very grounding for me. Then I go and do the thing. I'm setting myself up for the best successes I can. And even then, I'm going knowing I might be triggered. So I'm going to really practice that 90-10 rule. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to soften. I'm going to try and do my best to notice and have exit routes ready to go. And then I'm going to have something prepared for after the situation that's also grounding. So that's the ventral vagal bookending. I have the situation, I do something before and afterwards that's very nourishing and grounding. So I'm setting myself up for the best possibility of success with something that may be very triggering.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Aaron, I missed a bit in the beginning.
Hi,
What
Julia.
is 90? What is 90 and what is 10?
Ah, okay. So the 90-10 rule is where you put 90% of your awareness inside your nervous system, feeling your sensations and emotions. And the 10 is how much you put externally. So we can practice feeling our sensation emotions more, just being a little bit in the external field. And I'm inviting that as a practice to whenever you're doing anything in life is to be more attuned to your body than the world around you a lot of the time. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions about practices or about anything that came up for them at all today? And it's okay if there's no questions, we don't have to go there. Well, maybe we'll wrap up early then.
If nobody has a question, I have a question. Is
Please.
there any way that you can describe it to to a primary school child, for example? So how do you, in an easy way, describe the 90-10 and whatever you were saying? How do you describe it to your children?
I would invite them to think about a seesaw. And if you've got a really heavy kid on one side and a light kid on the other side, one side goes down. That's the side you want to have awareness on your body. So the seesaw is much more weighted on the side of your body, and the other end is much higher. And sometimes the other end gets much heavier, and that's where attention goes out of ourselves. So it's almost like this fulcrum that the seesaw's on is how we're practicing bringing the awareness back in. And life happens, things pull our attention out, and the seesaw goes down the other way. And the game is to make sure the seesaw's much further down our side. And we just keep practicing that over and over. Kate.
Hi, sorry. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
That's interesting that you say the 90-10 rule, because when I've heard you say this before, I think I put too much pressure on myself, and I think I have to be in a meditative state
Ah.
when I'm trying to answer questions, or when you're saying, yeah, so 90-10 rule, I feel like I'm trying to be and try and be present at the same time. So it's not my that's not exactly what it is then, really, is it? It's So it's just feeling my sensations, like you were saying. So how's my body feeling? I don't have to be Buddha and
Aha.
be,
Oh, I
yeah.
see what you're saying. Right. Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying. No, absolutely not. No, it's almost like you're tuning into a radio station. It's the radio station of your body. And whatever's going on in your body is welcome. That's what's happening, right?
Okay,
And so,
yeah.
yeah, we're not supposed to be in this divine, I'm enlightened kind of place. Absolutely not.
Okay,
We're,
that's what
we're
I've been going wrong.
I mean, another phrase for it is mindful awareness, right?
Mhm.
It's just noticing what's happening right now. And in the noticing, we value it. We value our experience, and we can stop abandoning ourselves or leaving ourselves, leaving home, and we're just learning to come home. It's funny because when we travel, we might use a map, right? And to use a map, you have to orient, I'm here and that's where I want to get to, and this is the journey I want to go on. In many ways, this journey is the opposite. We're looking at, hey, I lost myself. I'm over here. How do I get home? How do I come home again and again and again? And so that 90-10 is orienting, where did I lose myself just now? And how do I get home?
Thank you.
Mm, thank you. Thanks for the question.
Oh, actually, another one. And just for the
Please.
journaling you were saying before, so there were sensations. What were the 4 points of journaling?
Sensations, emotions, thoughts, and impulses.
Thank
If
you.
anyone wants a handout for journaling that I've made for the course, actually, which has got that laid out a lot more in depth, please send me an email requesting it, and I will send you that handout if you want to go deeper into that for the journaling for those particular things. All right. Well, thank you so much for your attention today, everyone. I really appreciate you giving up some of your Wednesday evenings so close to Christmas to come and join us this evening. Really appreciate it. Really honored to have you all here. If you have any questions or anything, obviously feel free to email me. And I'll be sending out a link with the recording. If you want to share it with anyone, you're welcome. I wish you all a wonderful Christmas, and I will see you all again soon. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
See everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.